Can you touch just a little bit more on this fee sharing with non-lawyers that you talked about?
She's on the task force, yeah.
Let's
bring out all 3 bottles.
Because in California, I go to prison for that.
I need a long pour for this one.
All right.
Okay, let's ask you this question first. Let's ask that first
felony,
question.
You know?
Yeah.
So we're going to bring out the whole line that Travis picked here. So first, we're going to ask you what's your Bourbon of Proof?
I think my winner is the Fortuna.
Wow, the Fortuna.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to pour the Fortuna for you, and then you're going to give us this long answer because no one more apt to tell this to answer your question, Mauro Fiore. On this, the year of our Lord, we're now almost in October 2024.
You just gave her a quadruple pour. You'll be good. She's got a driver.
All right, so get an answer to the question. Take a long pour, and let's do this.
So you ask about the fee sharing with non-lawyers. So approximately 3.5 years ago, Arizona created the path for the ABS, which is the alternative business structure. And it is an opportunity for non-lawyers to own law firms. And it's a program, I would say, that was probably developed in the UK, or that was developed in the UK, and they've been under this, the growth of the ABSs in their legal industry for the last decade or so. And so it was brought to Arizona under the guise of access to justice and providing sort of lower rung services and making those widely available to more people under this new business structure. But along with that meant that lawyers would now have the ability to share fees with non-lawyer entities and non-lawyer persons. So the rule against fee sharing, which we had forever, certainly as long as I had been a lawyer, was eliminated. So now we don't have a rule that permits fee sharing with non-lawyers, but we no longer have a rule that prohibits it. So there's a little bit of...
I like.
It
takes the back alley meetings out of the equation.
Well, there's certainly a lot of people who are taking advantage of that vacuum, and I think, like a lot of things, like AI,
Mauro just opened 5 auto body shops since we've been sitting here.
I'm about ready to move to Arizona for sure.
Is that right? So I think a lot of the regulatory stuff, a lot of the ethical guidance that most lawyers would want to have, it doesn't exist yet, but it probably will in the next few years. And the Supreme Court is the entity that's responsible for having permitted the ABSs, and under Justice Bollock, he started the task force, and we've been sort of evaluating the progress of ABSs and what we need to do to strengthen it.
At its core, we've had this discussion. I think if it was an ABS that was like, we're going to be really good at marketing, acquiring cases, being that front-end concierge service to consumers, and they immediately outsourced those cases to the best lawyers they could, and those best lawyers were just true data metrics. If it was like, all right, you get a 25% fee, but you have to send to the best lawyers because they'd be incentivized to do it. That's where I think it can win, and we've been having a lot of discussions with them about putting it to attorney share and finding you in Arizona, right, to find the best lawyer geographically, because then if you're able to put in like the metrics from Even Up, for instance, to say who's going to get the best results for you, the consumer wins. But right now, it's not being used for that purpose.
It's not quite happening. It's not quite happening that way. I will say that, some of the things that we are saying, is there a broader approach? I guess it depends on how you define access to justice, right? Like that's sort of maybe one of the initial problems is that nobody actually set out a definition by which we could set a metric to measure, are we meeting that goal? And so that's a little bit of the problem with measuring the success of the program. But I do think it's here to stay. I think a lot of states would be remiss if they thought that it's just going to be contained to Arizona, because I definitely think that because the UK is the model, I think it's going to continue to expand to other jurisdictions.
We'll have a whole follow-up episode on that a year or two from now, because Arizona's the first one to do it in this magnitude.
I think Washington, D.C. as well.
Washington, but it's a different, and then Utah did it as well, but Arizona's at a completely different, a lot of companies are coming here.